welcome to whatever this is gonna be. This is my first time giving this a shot to do kind of an overarching energetic themes look at the week ahead for whatever astrology we're going to encounter. So this is intended to be just a little bit different from my Astrology and Coffee sessions, if you're familiar with those, where I pick just a couple transits and go super in depth into the archetypes that are involved for the planets and the signs and all of that good stuff. And that is working extremely well. I think I'm personally enjoying and learning a ton by doing those weekly sessions every Friday. So those will be continuing. However, if you notice the time of this video compared to those Astrology and Coffee episodes where they're normally 2.5 hours, this I'm hoping to get in and out in about 15 to 20 minutes. And it's Monday, so we're looking at the week of April 18th through the 24th, which is this upcoming Sunday. And I want to just talk about some of the overarching themes and bigger picture contemplations that we often don't really have time for in the Astrology and Coffee, since we're only looking at a couple of transits each week. So when I look at the beginning of this week's chart, so today versus Sunday, April 24th, I noticed that there are several pieces that are either taking place this week or mostly that are constant from the beginning of the week to the end. So those are the main pieces that I want to focus on, where if you pull up just where the planets are right now, like pull up a transit chart, you see that the beginning and the end, like there's still heavy Pisces energy, there's very heavy Taurus energy, we have Saturn squaring the north and south node, which has been going on for a little while and is still going on all of this week. The sun is entering Taurus on April 21st. Mercury is conjuncting North Node as it moves across on April 23rd. And then actually, because of Mercury's retrograde here in a few weeks, Mercury will station retrograde, turn backwards, go back into Taurus, and will come close within 4 degrees of conjuncting the North Node again. So that'll be June 3rd. So this week we have all of this Taurus energy, which we will be revisiting later on in the next couple of months. So the things that are coming to the surface now around mastering your own security. This means like standing firmly on your own 2 feet, meeting your own physical needs. Your physical security and stability and well-being rests squarely on your shoulders. And basically what I'm seeing in all of this energy is like, basically we can't do these other things that are in the sky if we are neglecting our own personal security. If we feel insecure, the whole puzzle falls apart. So knowing our own security and our self-worth, yes, it is being highlighted with all of these planets in Taurus right now. And I want to talk about how that factors in with this square that's happening with Saturn and Aquarius, or with all of the sextiles happening between Taurus and Pisces. So to start with Pisces and Taurus, typically if you have a planet in Pisces and a planet in Taurus and they're close enough to the same exact degree point, then they will make a sextile. And you can have a looser orb up to 10 degrees apart where maybe they'll still make a sextile. And for the most part, that's the main aspect that you can have between Taurus and Pisces, is that sextile. And I want to take a second and talk about how sextiles are different from trines. Because both, when you look at your chart, both are, if you're on astro.com, both are a blue line. Both are considered to be harmonious, supportive, good, beneficial aspects. Not that there's really anything good or bad in astrology. It just is what it is, and however we respond to it. But there is generally considered to be a harmonious relationship between planets when they're in a sextile, and same for when they're in a trine. However, when you have a trine, you are almost always, 99% of the time, not 100%, but almost always, you're going to have planets in signs that are the same element. So for example, earth signs will create a trine, or water signs will create a trine. So like Cancer trines Scorpio. Cancer also trines Pisces. Pisces also trines Scorpio. So that is the angle of trines represent cooperative planets because they're harmonious by element. They are all earth signs. They all have that same earth agenda, as an example. However, when you get into sextiles, you no longer have that. So you no longer have a relationship by element or modality. What I mean by that is Taurus is fixed, is the modality. It's a fixed sign, and it's also an earth sign. That's its element. Pisces is a mutable sign, so not fixed. It's as far away from fixed energy as you can possibly be, is mutable, and it's a water sign. So how does this mutable water energy harmonize and support with this fixed earth energy? That is the question. And actually, that's where sextiles can be, I think, even a little bit more helpful than trines, a little bit more productive, because when you do have a trine, so like earth to earth, for example, you have a complacency, you have an enabling, you have like all the same agenda. So if you're headed on your agenda, but in a shadow frequency or like a negative direction, all the signs are pointing to yes, 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 more of that, because it's all the same. However, when you have a fixed earth sign pointed in one direction that's maybe wrong, you have this sextile that's connected to this mutable water sign that has a completely different agenda than the fixed earth sign. So if the fixed earth sign is going in the wrong direction, it can't do that and remain harmonious with mutable water at the same time. So I think having that sextile between Taurus and Pisces is actually really beautiful for the simplicity that they share. I'm going to say go with me for just a second where I'm going to say Pisces is a simple sign, because I'll be the first one in line to count how many complexities Pisces holds. I absolutely love it. It's very multifaceted, like they all are. However, within Pisces, there is an understanding that we as individual humans, like either one, you are an extension of God itself, of source energy itself. So like you are the divine incarnate, and at that level, like you have already created all of this, and there's really nothing left to do but surrender to what is. The universe, the highest good and well-being of the universe is unfolding no matter what I do. So within Pisces, there is a simplicity that it is the divine will that's unfolding. There's nothing for us to interfere with there. And with Taurus, it's a much more earthly simplicity and natural, organic, very close to nature as much as possible. And in that case, it's very much like the earth is what it is. The planet's vibration is what it is. And I don't need all of these fancy things to feel the earth's vibration inside of me. And that, my friends, is the true definition of abundance, is getting to feel the natural well-being that is your actual dominant inherent state, simply because you're not covering it up with all of these complications. Taurus is so simple in its earthly perspective that it does not overcomplicate things. And because of that, you have a much better chance of feeling the actual vibration of the planet. But on the Pisces side, like feeling the actual vibration of source energy, the well-being that is natural and dominant on this planet all the time. And all that's different is whether or not each individual is tuning into that and allowing that energy to flow through them, or if, like we said, they're covering it over with complexities. So I think Pisces and Taurus, they get along really well because they both have this natural harmony with surrender and accepting what is. So that is actually really productive, I think, given this last week that we had the Neptune-Jupiter conjunction in Pisces on April 12th. That's a once in 166 year transit. Very exciting stuff. And that opening of our consciousness to even more integrate that we are source energy incarnate. Like, I don't know if you're there yet or not, but that's what's going on. So now to know that it's like it adds a whole new layer of simplicity on the Taurus side. It's like the more simple you get on either side of that equation, it simplifies the other. So like when we simplify our perspective of spirituality and the purpose of life itself, that, you know, I am an extension of source energy, and I've manifested this life for myself because literally like God wanted to learn about God. So my soul separated from God and manifested this life, and now I'm learning, and everything about that is helping source energy, the all, the infinite, to know more about who it is. And I believe that's true for every single being, not just humans, but every single being that has manifested a life onto the planet, be it animals, trees, plants, insects, whatever it is, that all of this is just source energy learning about itself. And that is actually really simple and really beautiful. There's nothing to be worried about. There's nothing to fight about. All is truly well. And Pisces and Taurus, they know that. They know that in their highest frequencies. They both know that well-being is actually what's dominant, and that you don't have to try to create well-being. You just have to try not to get in the way. So that harmonious relationship is happening really like for a while. Like we still have maybe a month of this to go until we'll have Venus and Mars and Jupiter all move on into Aries, you know, kind of staggered start times through the month of May. But we still have several weeks of this harmony between Pisces and Taurus where that simplicity can really open new doors for us, because it's so often that we hold ourselves back from our goals simply because we're overcomplicating things. And if we were only to simplify our perspective, the shortest distance between A and B is a straight line. And so often we're like, yeah, but what about C, D, E, F, G? And it's like, yeah, but none of that matters. It only matters because you're making it matter. And to source energy in 1,000 years, in the grand scheme of like all life on this planet, like this planet is millions of years old, like in the grand scheme of things, none of it fucking matters. Not a goddamn one piece of it. So yeah, it's like, let it be that simple. Don't overthink it. Watch what happens. The next piece that we're going to talk about is still within Taurus, that realm of simplicity and fixed earth, but we also see that it is creating squares with Saturn in Aquarius. So at the beginning of the week, only Saturn's in Aquarius. By the end of the week, the moon will spend a couple days in Aquarius, where it'll make some of those same squares. So it'll be even more pronounced there at the end of the week. But where I wanted to talk about how Aquarius and Taurus, why they square. And squares are, again, if you're on astro.com, are some of the red lines along with oppositions, where they are considered to be tense or challenging aspects. So a square and an opposition, yes, they can create circumstances in your life where, like, quite literally you feel like you're being pulled in two completely different directions. Like, the options that you have are mutually exclusive and there is no compromise. Like if I decide on to go with option A, then option B is going to be pissed. And that's a part of me. That's part of my own energy. And if I go with option B, then the part of me that is option A is going to be pissed. So no matter what I do, part of me loses. That's how oppositions and squares can feel early on. And that's kind of by design, is that it really does make finding your own inner harmony that much more difficult. However, you guys know me by now. I'm not going to just leave you there. However, when you go through that added layer of difficulty, the level of mastery that you're able to reach by the time you come out the other side, when you figure out how to harmonize your squares and your oppositions and get the best out of both of them. So like that's really what we're trying to do. Yes, Aquarius and Taurus butt heads, and I have a little bit of thoughts on why that is, mostly because, you know, Aquarius is very oriented towards like finding their individual self, so our full individuation, removing every ounce of social conditioning that we have within us. And then basically through our own aura, through our own energy, we are implicitly giving permission to every other soul to do the same. So it's a really beautiful energy, Aquarius. And Taurus, not that it's not concerned with those things, but its top priority is physical security. So that means that I think like where you can get some squares going on between Aquarius and Taurus is like you literally have your physical security. So like your house payment, your job that you're in because it gives you enough income to pay your house payment and save for your kids' college. And like that's very Taurus, is like my physical security and foundation matters the most. And Aquarius says, quit that goddamn job unless it's you becoming your own highest individual self. So that is where their priorities can sometimes look very different. However, like we said, with all squares, like we're trying to find the harmony point. We're trying to find the balance where we've gotten the best of Taurus and we've gotten the best of Aquarius. And I think where they can temper each other is like Taurus helps us to slow down a little bit and ground ourselves into the physical reality. Aquarius can be very out there, very wild and innovative and inventive and, you know, going against the status quo, if that's the beat of their drum to telling them to do that or whatever the case is. They can be pretty far out, and their primary focus is just living the life that their soul came forward to live, getting to honor that energy as much as possible. So they may quit a job because it's offending their authenticity rather than paying attention to, hey, you know, I have a house payment that's due and I have people who count on me. So Taurus is where we bring ourselves back into the reality. But again, I think Taurus can stay in a job that it hates for 40 years because it's paying that house payment. And no offense to anybody who might find themselves there or has been there. I know I've stayed places longer than I should have because I was comfortable. But like that's just sad, according to Aquarius. So Aquarius is pulling Taurus up out of its comfort zone and saying, I know you're comfortable. I know your house payment's made, but you're also violating the very soul that brought you into this life in the first place. So there has to be some give and take when it comes to our security, when it means honoring our full authenticity, our full individuality. So there has to become a balance between those two where we don't just, you know, burn down our whole life because we want to be authentic. We're making calculated choices and moving in that direction of like, we all have a responsibility to actualize ourselves. Meaning we all have a responsibility to become the most individuated version of ourselves that we could ever become. And, you know, we start where we are and we do what we can with what we have. There's no like same standard of where we're all trying to get to the same place. Like we're all on our own journey. But I think there is really a lot of potential in that square between Saturn in Aquarius and the moon in Aquarius at the end of this week and Taurus. That same square with Aquarius is also squaring the south node in Scorpio. So we could also talk at a different time about how Aquarius and Scorpio have differing agendas and how they can help each other. But I do want to wrap up with talking about that south node in Scorpio and the trine that it's making to everything in Pisces. And trines, like we said at the beginning, are harmonious, supportive, but also can be enabling aspects. It just depends on the person, depends on the day. So when we have Scorpio, which is a fixed water sign, trining Pisces, which is a mutable water sign, it is a very harmonious dance between the two. And when we think about the water family in general, it rules healing, regeneration, recovery, getting back to our happiness after we have something traumatic happen to us. So that is obviously a very good skill to have when you're human, because when we come into Earth, it's almost nothing but traumatic events. And this is doubly amplified by the fact that right now Pluto, Scorpio's ruler, is squaring the sun. So Pluto's a very slow-moving energy, and the sun moves about 1 degree per day. So with a loose orb, this is almost like a 10-day transit where the sun is in this square with Pluto, where at the beginning of this week, so today on Monday, April 18th, the sun is still at the last couple degrees of Aries. So we have Aries, a cardinal sign, squaring Capricorn, another cardinal sign. And that's an interesting mix because very similar to what we talked about with Aquarius and Taurus, they can find harmony at some point that actually makes them both better than they would be on their own. So that's a very productive relationship. The part that I think is super interesting is because of the way the planets are set up with Pluto at the last degrees of Capricorn, and the sun will just have crossed over into the first few degrees of Taurus, they're close enough to still make a square, even though at the end of this week we'll have the sun in Taurus, an earth sign, squaring Pluto in Capricorn, another earth sign. And that almost never happens. Almost always you have a trine between earth and earth makes a trine, not a square. They don't disagree. They're on the same page. So, but not right now. No, not at the end of this week. They are earth and earth making a square. So that I find very interesting. Again, I think there's huge potential there for discovering what we want and what truly would add to our security, and letting go of our outdated structures of beliefs around power and how authority works in our lives. Again, a lot of times we can hold ourselves back from our goals simply because we don't feel like we have the power to make the choices that we want to make. And that is just simply never true. And this Sun square Pluto is going to bring any of those themes to the surface, where you're taking away your own power, admitting to yourself that you don't have the power to do what you want to do. The sun will be lighting up Pluto and will be proving to you step by step that you actually have all the power, all the cards to play however you want. You are an extension of source energy. You are here to learn about yourself for the fun of getting to learn about yourself. There is literally nothing serious going on here, and yet we can hold ourselves back a lot by having fears around, I'm allowed to do this, or I'm not allowed to do this, or it's gonna blow back negatively on people that I care about if I do this. There is that conscientiousness of Taurus that says security is first and foremost, but Pluto in Capricorn is bringing to light every ounce of where the systems in your life don't make sense. And all you're here to do is live your own highest path. So if there are still systems in your world that don't make sense, expect for them to maybe not like get blown up or anything, but the sun is coming into contact with them. So expect to have a light shined on them. So that brings us to the close of this first episode. I hope this is helpful. I would love to hear your comments, your feedback. I have no idea with my personality if I'll be doing this every single week. It sounded fun today, so I went ahead and did it. I would love to do it every week if that's what unfolds, but you know me, I'm going with the flow, going with what I feel like doing. That's what I got going on. So until next time, you take such good care of yourselves. Have a happy Monday and a magical week. I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye.